Ooh, fresh pavement. Let's do a 0 to 60.
Hello, this is Aaron from AaronOnAutos.com, and today we're going to do an interior review with our shaky cam of a 2016 Volkswagen Tiguan. This is roughly the mid-level package, so it's the everyman's package, what most people will buy with this vehicle. Runs somewhere around $38,000 with 4Motion and a few other things. Panoramic sunroof being one of those. So let's just get to it. Believe we have done this car before. It hasn't changed much in the last 3 or 4 years, and I've had it at least twice before this. So, but it's a great vehicle for the kind of person who wants a vehicle like this one. There are some downsides and there are upsides, just like with everything else. So over here we have the doors, windows, locks, etc. You can see they're kind of on a cant, so they're not exactly flat and they're not way down here. I like the positioning, except I'm not real fond of having things right here on pane with the window, because where I live, snow tends to pile up on the outside right here, and then if you open the window for any reason, comes right in. Otherwise, I like that. I really love the round, these round vents, very adjustable. You can turn them all which way, and these will go all over the place. Lots of adjustability. I really like that. I also like that there's double vents here, so you can aim one at the window to do a little better job than the defrost vent up there will do. Automatic lighting in this vehicle, and here's your dimmers. There's nothing to show really down here other than the fuse box. So, no controls down here to try to fiddle with. I like that because the controls that are over here I tend to ignore, and some manufacturers put important stuff and I don't really need it down there. Looking at the steering wheel, you can see pretty basic controls. Over here is telematics, as well as infotainment a little bit right there. And your voice control button. You will use that fairly often in this car. Voice control is pretty good on Volkswagen's infotainment. Over here you have what controls that up there. Pretty simple and straightforward. These are the page through the menus. This goes up and down through the selections, and this says yes, that's what I want, and there's the back. Looking at the instrument cluster, you can see it's flat facing, and it does have a little bit of glare when the sun is in just the right spot, but it's rare enough that I'm not going to knock it for that. It's very easy to read. You can see the dials are very, very clear. Even with this camera that's getting glare on my screen from the sun behind me, I can see that I can see these gauges very clearly. So over here you can control more of your menus and stuff. Up here you have your tachometer. Here's your engine heat. This is the driver's information screen. You can change most of the stuff in the middle of it. The stuff on the top and the bottom pretty much stays the same no matter what, with the exception of the trip, which you control over there. This right here, speedometer, of course, and fuel gauge. So you can see that I've done pretty well, about 163.5 miles, and that's roughly half a tank. This is at altitude. This is a turbocharged engine. It is the TSI. That's pretty decent fuel economy given the circumstances here. It's been very cold. The car has spent a lot of time idling to warm itself up. So fairly impressed with the fuel economy. I haven't run the numbers yet, so when I do a write-up on this, I will know the full fuel economy numbers. And if the write-up is done before this video publishes, I will put fuel economy numbers down across the bottom right now. Fuel economy. Right. Okay, moving along. Here is the infotainment screen. You can see you got your Dukes lights up here, a few other indicators, more of those vents, and right there, I need to turn this off. You're probably getting air right on the microphone. So this is sort of like the main menu, I guess you would say. Now, a feature that I really like here is when you have things running right here, and you decide you don't need the infotainment, you don't want the sound system blaring at you, you don't want anything, bam, all gone. That's pretty awesome. On the downside, if you're used to hitting that for just to mute the radio, that it does more than that. It doesn't just mute. So the main menu, fast buttons right here. Here you can see more or less what you can do. So if you connect your device, my phone's connected, but I don't have it plugged in. So if you're plugged in via the USB, you can do things like Android Auto, CarPlay, MirrorLink, etc., etc. We also have a few other basic things. Here's your sound controls. You can bring images from your device. A few other things. You can check traffic reports, all kinds of stuff. Very nice telematics here. Very nice system. Some of the menus are a little bit clunky, but it's the newest rendition of the Volkswagen system, and it's pretty good. I like it. By the way, you can also page through things using this knob here. Going down here, here's your climate controls. Straightforward, very easy to use. You don't need to know anything special to make this happen. Down here you have, there's your traction control button. This is a really good cubby for your phone. Just drop it in there. It's rubber lined. Your phone can move a little bit, but there you go. You've got the USB right there and the aux right there. Everything's good to go. Now I want to make a couple of notes. Here's a 12-volt plug. I want to make a note on the push button starting in this. The push button start, when you push the button down, even if your foot is on the brake, it does not start the engine immediately. You have to hold the button down. I found that slightly annoying. It took me a little while to get used to that. Holding the button for, is probably 2 seconds. In fact, let's just time it. So I just shut it off. My foot is on the brake. Push it in. 1, 2. Took 2 seconds for that to decide to start up the engine. A little bit of an annoyance right there. Here's your shifter, standard Volkswagen shifter. You can shove the automatic into manual mode over here and run the gearing if you want. This has sport mode right there. Honestly, I have found very little use for it. I don't notice a whole lot of difference other than maybe some throttle response when I'm in sport mode. So I haven't bothered using it. It hasn't made much of a difference. This is a good goer. It easily passes, easily runs up the on-ramp, all that good stuff. I haven't had a need to use sport mode. Here you got your cup holders. You can see I got my coffee and my water there. Electronic parking brake. I am on an incline, so I did set the brake. This is the faux leather seating. I really like this seating, but honestly, I prefer the cloth more. The cloth in these Volkswagens is very, very good. And it's a little more comfortable than this is. But this is still very good. But you can see the interior is very plain Jane. This is a knock on Volkswagen, I think, but it's standard fare for Volkswagen. Volkswagen is not known for having classy interiors. This is a very standard, functional, good-to-go interior. It is soft material. The only hard plastic is this glove box cover right here. Everything else is soft material. Absorbs sound very well. Most of the sound that I'm getting is actually from this panoramic roof up here. I'm getting very little sound from the coming into the cabin this way. Nothing from those mirrors. I don't hear any kind of whistling or anything on the side mirrors. That's a very big plus because in this category, vehicles are either noisy or super quiet, depending on how new they are. And given that this design is 3 or 4 years old, that's very, very good. Back seats are good. They're a little dirty because my kids have been back there, but the back seats are good. Very good for this segment. For the size of the vehicle, they emphasize the back seat rather than cargo. So the cargo is cramped, but the back seats are huge. Again, depends on what you want out of a vehicle. If you need a lot of cargo space, this probably isn't the one for you to buy. If you need accessible cargo space, but mostly want a lot of back seat, this is definitely a good vehicle. It's also one of the sportier vehicles to drive. I had the Ford Escape last week. The Ford Escape is a fun, sporty little drive, but this, even though it has a smaller engine, this Volkswagen feels sportier and really has a lot more get up and go. Again, that's Volkswagen. It's kind of what you expect out of VW. So that's about it. That's the interior for the 2016 Volkswagen Tiguan. This has been Aaron from AaronOnAutos.com. Talk to you again soon.